Welcome to this explainer, where we dive into the rich, complex, and deeply profound history of Memorial Day. We are going to rely on official government resources and historical archives to untangle the actual facts from the myths. It is really about exploring how a nation, previously torn apart by war, found a foundational way to mourn together. We will see how those early traditions of reconciliation evolved into the national holiday we recognize today.
Here's our agenda. We will start by clearing up a common holiday confusion, then track Memorial Day's Civil War roots and explore its origin stories. Then we will map out the official timeline, visit the hallowed ground at Arlington, and finally look at its enduring national meaning.
Section 1, Memorial versus Veterans Day.
We have to start with a clear baseline, because this is where so many people genuinely get confused. Memorial Day is specifically reserved for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, those who died in combat defending our country. Right, whereas Veterans Day, which comes up in November, is a broader day of recognition. It honors everyone who voluntarily wore the uniform, and that very much includes the living. It is a subtle but absolutely vital distinction. Memorial Day is a day for solemn mourning and profound gratitude for the fallen, while Veterans Day recognizes all service.
Section 2, the Civil War origins.
To really grasp why Memorial Day began, we have to look at the historical catalyst. And it all comes down to one staggering number: 620,000. That is the estimated military deaths during the American Civil War, right? Which was roughly 2% of the total United States population back then. To put that into perspective, the sheer scale of loss fundamentally changed how the country experienced grief. According to the National Archives, the death toll was so massive that a new cultural ritual was practically necessary. Grieving communities organically began decorating soldiers' graves with spring flowers simply as a way to process the trauma.
And that brings up President Lincoln's second inaugural address. With malice toward none, with charity for all, let us bind up the nation's wounds. That brilliantly captures the emotional tone of the era. It was a call for profound national reconciliation. The Discovery Institute actually notes that this exact lack of bitterness echoed right through those localized grave decorating traditions. So you had citizens decorating the graves of not just their own fallen, but the graves of former enemies too? Exactly. It paved the way for unified national healing, rooted in our shared humanity rather than ongoing division.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, a dispute over firsts.
Because that grief was so widespread, the birth of this holiday isn't perfectly neat. There is no single origin story. The Department of Veterans Affairs actually recognizes over 25 locations that claim to be the birthplace. Wow! Like in Columbus, Mississippi and Columbus, Georgia, where Southern women showed incredible grace by decorating both Union and Confederate graves alike. Or in Charleston, South Carolina, where newly freedmen held a massive parade in 1865 to honor Union soldiers. And towns like Boalsburg, Pennsylvania, claim traditions starting as early as 1864. But it wasn't until a century later, in 1966, that Congress officially recognized Waterloo, New York, as the official birthplace. True, but the reality is that the holiday was born simultaneously in the hearts of grieving communities all across the map.
Let's move to Section 4, becoming a national holiday.
Let's trace how this scattered tradition became federal law. In 1868, General John A. Logan formalized May 30th as Decoration Day to decorate the graves of Union troops. Why May 30th specifically? It is believed that date was chosen simply because flowers would be in bloom across the whole country. New York was the first state to officially recognize it in 1873. But it wasn't until after the catastrophic losses of World War I that the day expanded to honor all Americans who died in any war. And then finally, in 1971, the Uniform Monday Holiday Act officially moved Memorial Day to the last Monday in May to create a 3-day weekend.
But the path to a unified date did have some bumps. It initially faced a geographic divide. Sources like The Imaginative Conservative point out that many southern states originally refused to acknowledge the May 30th date.
Right, they chose to honor their Confederate dead on separate, localized days.
True national unification of the holiday really only happened when its scope expanded beyond the Civil War. Once the country faced two world wars together, they had shared national losses to mourn as one united front.
And as the holiday modernized, we added new traditions, like the National Moment of Remembrance. Yes, established by Congress in 2000. It asks all citizens, no matter what they are doing, to pause for 1 minute of silence at 3 p.m. local time on Memorial Day. It is such a great way to ensure a unified, national moment of reflection right in the middle of a busy holiday weekend.
Let's turn to Section 5,
The unknown soldier. To truly grasp the weight of this explainer, we must look at Arlington National Cemetery. It is arguably the most sacred military ground in the United States, but there is a fascinating piece of history here. Arlington was originally established on 1,100 acres of plantation land. Land seized by the federal government from Confederate General Robert E. Lee. As the Discovery Institute highlights, it is a powerful symbol of a fractured nation, literally bearing its past to honor its future patriots.
And within Arlington sits the tomb of the unknown soldier. The history of that tomb is quite a chronological story itself, it really is. In 1921, an unidentified soldier from World War I was interred there. Then in 1958, unknowns from World War II and the Korean War were added. They briefly rested on the exact same platform that once held Abraham Lincoln's casket. But the 1999 update regarding the Vietnam War is incredibly poignant. Thanks to DNA testing, the Vietnam unknown was identified and returned to his family. So the crypt was rededicated and deliberately left empty. It stands today as a tribute to all those still missing in action.
Which brings us to our final section, the enduring meaning.
So what do all these historical sources tell us about the core meaning of Memorial Day today? Consider the inscription carved onto the tomb of the unknown soldier. Here rests in honored glory an American soldier known but to God. That tomb is guarded 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, regardless of the weather. It serves as a permanent physical reminder that every single lost life holds a specific, sacred place in our national memory.
We also see the enduring cultural impact through traditions like wearing the red poppy. In 1918, inspired by the famous poem In Flanders Fields, an American woman named Moyna Michael successfully campaigned to make the red poppy an official symbol, and by 1920, the American Legion adopted it to physically symbolize the bloodshed in defense of freedom. It bridges a literary poem with a tangible act of remembrance.
Synthesizing our sources, Memorial Day represents multiple layers of civic duty. As the imaginative conservative points out, it is about fostering reconciliation, bringing people together through shared gratitude. It also honors the defense of our foundational constitutional rights. Yes, and furthermore, the Discovery Institute argues that truly honoring the dead means actively demanding serious, competent military leadership today. It is about accountability, ensuring future lives are never risked unnecessarily.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought to consider the next time the last Monday of May rolls around. In an era where this profound holiday is sometimes overshadowed by mattress sales and long weekend barbecues, how will you personally honor the ultimate sacrifice? Whether it is observing the 3 p.m. moment of silence, wearing a poppy, or simply sharing this history with someone else, the responsibility of remembering falls on all of us. Thank you for joining us for this explainer, and keep learning.